Oh,
And shortly after that, I had decided to leave Monument Records and go to a stronger label because I didn't have worldwide distribution on Monument. I was grateful to Fred Foster for the opportunity, but I also needed to grow. And I had 2 or 3 different offers. So, and looking at that, and the trend at that time was the package show with an established male artist, established female artist, and a duet team. And Porter and Dolly and Bill Anderson, Jan Howard, and on, so Conway and Loretta. So as I looked around and at who I might want to take that next step with, and like I said, Jack was on the TV show as well, and so we just decided to make that move. Also, for the privilege to work with Owen Bradley. I don't think there's ever been an artist that came into country music during that era that didn't want to work with Chet Atkins or Owen Bradley, and I was certainly one of them.
And you guys toured over the world, from New York's Madison Square Garden to London's Wembley Arena. What was it like touring overseas?
Well, it was great then, and it still is. I just finished a 2-week tour in February of Ireland.
Oh,
Queens of Country Music tour. And the fans over there, now, you talk about traditional country music fans, they're starting to get into today's country music more, but they really do like the traditional country. And they were wonderful to me, and especially in Ireland. Of course, you know, a lot of country music, especially the bluegrass and the fiddle tunes, all come from the Irish jig, you know.
Yeah, the old Celtic music. And sure, that was a fun time over there in Ireland.
It was. I was in some pretty good company too. Lynn Anderson and Billy Joe Spears. We drug her out of retirement for a little bit. Went from the United States, and then Philomena Begley, who is the reigning queen of country music in Ireland, was there, and she's from Northern Ireland, and Louise Morrissey is another, just has an incredibly beautiful Irish voice, and she's from Southern Ireland. So we had a great time, a successful tour. In fact, he's going to do it again next year and invited me to come back.
Oh, that's great.
But Jack Green and I co-hosted the Wembley Festival in 1976, and that was pretty amazing. Hosting the event, of course, there were acts from all over the world, and I remember, I can't call the gentleman's name right now, but he was with the Country Music Association in Britain, and he was backstage, and I remember every time we would get an act on the stage, I would run back and get with Brian was his name, and he would teach me how to say, like the act from Czechoslovakia, he would teach me how to say their name phonetically so that I could, then when I took that, each act that was coming up, I'd go back there and learn how to say their name and then go out and introduce them. I was worn out, and on the fun side of that, it's fun now to look back at it, but I got over there and without thinking, took a shower, washed my hair, and my hairdryer, of course, wouldn't work, and neither would my converter. So I'm calling the desk trying to find a converter, and they, of course, were all assigned out to different rooms, and everybody I called said, no, I don't have one, so it ended up I'm standing over the radiator brushing my hair, vigorously trying to get it dry and ready to go. And so I had to go on to the stadium. I ran out of time, so I had to go on to the stadium with my hair up and a hat on till I could get there and get my hair dry and roll it. So.
No. Well, you've appeared on many television shows in the past, like Nashville Now and Crook and Chase and Music City, and I've already talked about Porter Wagner Show and Ernest Tubbs Show, and then you've also appeared on Glenn Campbell's Good Time Hour. What was probably your most memorable television appearance?
Well, of course, the Glenn Campbell show was very special to me. It was so hot. That show was so hot at the time, and it was the first really major network show, that I had done. And Glenn, of course, was an old friend of mine from California days when I was first writing. In fact, he and I co-wrote a song or two. And so that was very special to me to see Glenn go on and become such a huge success. And then for him to invite me to be on the show, that was very good. I really enjoyed that. Speaking of Crook and Chase, they just called the other day. We're trying to schedule a time when I can guest on the Crook and Chase show again. They're back on the air on RFD.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. I was wondering if you were going to be on there pretty soon.
She has called and she said, well, let me get some. We went through some available dates on me, and she was going to check their schedule and get back to me.
Unfortunately, we don't get RFD TV up here in New England. I'm not really sure why, but the cable system...
Well, the cable company is growing, and probably before long you will. We're just now getting it here in Nashville.
Ah.
Some people are getting it. In fact, I've got to call my cable company because for some reason that channel is not coming through on mine. So.
And you've also served as a regular host on Opry Backstage and interviewing everyone from new and upcoming acts like Garth Brooks. And so what was that like on the Opry Backstage show?
I love doing those shows, and I wish they still did them that way. That was my favorite format, where they did, because that served as kind of a warm-up show to the stage appearance.
Sure.
And did you not think so? It was like you could watch that backstage show, and you learned something about that artist, and then when you saw them come on stage, you looked at them differently, and I really like that format the best. But as we were saying, things change.
Yeah, Keith Bilbrey does
I enjoy doing the interviews, and especially when I got to slide in questions that I wanted to ask. They would always give me all these questions that the record company wanted me to plug, and the management and the tour agency and all of this. And so every now and then I got to slide in a question I wanted to ask. And like when I interviewed Garth, I remember the last question I had, and I said, because it was a holiday season, and I said, Garth, I have one more very serious question I want to ask you. And I also asked the director when I said that, if they would bring the camera in on a close-up of just his face.
Sure.
So he said, why? And I said, I'm not going to tell you. So he said, okay, I'll do it. So I said, I have one more question, Garth. I want to ask you a very serious question. So he got this real serious look on his face, and I said, do you believe in Santa Claus? And he said, oh, yes, and his face burst into that beautiful smile he's got, and his eyes were just twinkling, and that's how we signed off the show.
Oh, what a great ending.
Yeah, I just thought that was fun, and I had so many comments on it.